Welcome back, my beloved weebs. Today we're going to talk about an anime series called Magi, Adventure of Sinbad, which is an adventure fantasy anime with a great storyline. Without any further ado, let's dive right into it. On the night of a ferocious storm, Badr, an ex-war hero, helps his wife through a difficult birth. Different mages all around the world take notice of the flow of ruh in their respective part of the world and surmise that a great power has just been brought into the world. Badr's wife successfully gives birth to a healthy baby boy. They name him Sinbad, the man who will eventually rule the seven seas. Years later, in a village lying within the great Partavia Empire, soldiers celebrate their victory at the local pub. While Badr tries to enjoy a drink as well, soldiers arrive to pay him for his great service in the war. However, he refuses, claiming he has no use for a fortune. He doesn't agree with the nation's aggressive expansion efforts and just wants to focus on fishing. 2 years later, Partavian soldiers chased a soldier from Rem off a cliff. The next morning in a different area, Sinbad's father continues to work as an honest fisherman. Angry citizens confront Badr, calling him a traitor and demanding to stop fishing in that area. In the past 2 years, Partavia has gone to war with Rem. Its citizens are slowly descending into poverty, and all of them are desperate to win the war to reobtain their wealth. These people attack Badr, who simply laughs them off and allows himself to be beaten in front of his son. When he awakens, he tries to ignore it, but Sinbad is infuriated that his father didn't defend himself and runs off. That night at dinner, Sinbad quickly finishes his food and runs off to draw water from a well. Sinbad returns, bringing an injured man with him, the same man who was being chased by Partavian soldiers earlier. Sinbad's family nurses this man back to health and he eventually awakens. He thanks Sinbad for saving him and introduces himself as Darius, a traveling merchant claiming to be shipwrecked. Badr offers his help. One morning, Darius attempts to leave while Sinbad's mother attempts to serve him some food. They're interrupted when soldiers suddenly arrive and tell her they've been looking for a spy in the area. They force their way into the house and are brutally murdered by Darius. He takes Sinbad hostage to keep all the citizens away from him. Sinbad doesn't understand what's happening, but Darius reveals he's a spy from Rem. He demands a boat and money in return for Sinbad. Just before the spy escapes with the child, Badr arrives to stop him. He gets on his knees and begs him to let Sinbad go. He suggests Darius should change sides and provide information to Partavia, but this only serves to anger Darius, a proud citizen of Rem. In an instant, while he's distracted, Badr stabs him in the heart with a knife. He takes back Sinbad and declares that he doesn't care what people say about him, but he'll never forgive anyone who harms his family. Afterward, Badr is charged with the crime of harboring a spy and is sent off to fight in the war. While Sinbad and his mother cry and plead with the guards to stop, villagers demand their family to leave the village immediately. As Badr leaves Sinbad behind, he tells him he'll have to fight like a man throughout his life and asks Sinbad to take care of his mother. This experience helps Sinbad realize his father's strength. A few moments later, Badr is killed on the battlefield and his sword is sent back home. 9 years later, Sinbad has grown into a teenager. The world's changed very much as mysterious buildings and structures are appearing all over the world. People begin to call them dungeons because they hold immense treasures and powers. A dungeon also appears in the Partavia Empire. The Empire ordered an army of 10,000 people to seize the dungeon, but none of them came back alive. At the port, some girls are traveling to sell fresh fruits, but they're stopped by thugs. Sinbad comes in and saves them by beating the crap out of these thugs. The girls give him some fruits as a gift. Upon opening the barrel of fruits, a man is found there. He gets surprised and closes the barrel, telling them not to open it without permission. Afterward, Sinbad takes him back to his town. The man reveals himself to be a traveller named Yunnan. Upon asking, he tells him that he likes to live in small, cramped spaces, and the barrel was a perfect place for him. Yunnan continued to observe him, and later Sinbad takes him to his house. In the morning, Sinbad makes breakfast for Yunnan and leaves for his duty. Soon after, Sinbad's mother wakes up and struggles with her disease. Yunnan gives her water. She begins to tell him that Sinbad is bound to this town because of her, although he has a special power. Even his father used to say that he'll become a ruler in the future. She ends the talk by requesting Yunnan to guide him whenever he's in trouble. He witnesses ruh flowing from her and gets surprised upon seeing it. Suddenly, a woman comes in and tells him the army is beating Sinbad because he didn't join them even after several official letters. Dragul, the commander of a small squad, orders Sinbad to join. He refuses by saying that joining the army for war is just cruelty, as the army is just using them as tools. The people of the town join Sinbad and tell them to go away as they'll not tolerate them anymore. Dragul leaves, saying if he doesn't join the army, then his mother will be considered a traitor, just like his father. Afterward, Sinbad is wrapping bandages on his wounds while talking with Yunnan. He tells him that going to the dungeon is like suicide because no one's ever come back from it. He's in trouble because even if he doesn't join the army, then they'll kill him for treason. Yunnan advises him to conquer the dungeon to become a king, as he has the potential to become a king. Sinbad asks him about his identity, but he disappears, saying he's just a traveller. Sinbad swears to capture and seize the power of the dungeon so that he can change the world for the better. Back at home, his mother gives him the sword left by his father and tells him he should go on an adventure. He doesn't need to worry about her, as she'll be fine. In Imperial Castle, Drago gets the order to conquer the dungeon at all costs. The next day, Drago reaches the gate of the dungeon with his army. As they're about to charge in, Sinbad appears and tells them that he'll conquer the power of this dungeon and will never let them have it. Yunnan tells him that he can't come back unless he's conquered the dungeon. Sinbad makes his resolve and charges inside. Drago also charges in with his army too. Yunnan wonders what will Sinbad do after acquiring the power. Upon entering the dungeon, Sinbad's surprised to see the world inside it, which is completely different and full of mythical creatures. There, Sinbad is attacked by small dragons, but he brilliantly evades them. Drago is struggling against the dragons. His entire army is wiped out in an instant. He's cornered by a dragon, but Sinbad saves him by killing the dragon with a spear. Suddenly, a giant dragon passes by and they're forced to hide from him. To survive the dungeon, they end up forming an unlikely alliance for the time being. They find the door right behind the dragon's den. Drago leaves on his own to find a way to the door. He encounters random geezers and baby dragons on his way. Upon reaching the door, he tries to unlock it, but it's all in vain. The Dragon King notices his presence and charges his lightning breath while Drago struggles to escape. Just when the dragon was about to kill him, Sinbad saves him and takes him away. Drago says that he's failed as a soldier and he should die, but Sinbad consoles him and says that there's nothing to be ashamed about. He takes the shield of Drago and heads for the dragon. He uses the shield as a surfboard to ride the water waves from the geyser. He strikes the dragon while surfing and lands a final blow on his face. Sinbad succeeds in killing the monster and two boar-like keys appear. They use the keys to open the door. They continue their adventure while killing random monsters appearing along the way. Drago is impressed by the abilities and actions of Sinbad. Upon reaching the final door, they have a small humorous fight like always and then proceed to enter the room. Sinbad finds a lamp and touches it, and suddenly a big djinn emerges from the lamp. He asks who will become the king. As both of them seek power for their own reasons, they decide to settle the winner with a deadly match. Sinbad attacks him with his sword, but Drago evades the attack. Soon, Drago gets the upper hand and he's more skilled with swords. He pins down Sinbad and lands a strike, but Sinbad stomps him with his hands and then lands a solid punch on his face, throwing him away. Despite losing all his strength, he comes again to attack Sinbad, only to get beaten up again. He gathers his remaining strength and dashes towards Sinbad for the final blow. Sinbad emerges victorious in the battle. Baal forms a contract with him and dwells in his sword. Suddenly, all the items in the room turn to gold and the dungeon disappears, indicating that the first dungeon has been conquered. Upon waking, Sinbad finds himself with tons of gold around him. The army approaches him and orders him to hand over the power and wealth to them. Sinbad tells them that he'll not give anything to the cruel empire anymore. Yunnan makes an appearance and tells Sinbad to use his new power. He calls for the djinn from his sword and lightning falls on the army around him. Yunnan uses his magic that ends up taking Sinbad and his wealth back to his hometown. Right after reaching the town, he gets news about his mother's bad condition and rushes towards home. Upon reaching, he grabs his mother's hand. Her condition is so bad that she mistook him for Badr. She tells him that she will soon join him. Sinbad breaks into tears. His mother dies while saying that she'll always love Sinbad. On the other hand, Drago in a wounded state walks around the palace. Sinbad gets famous all over the empire. Since the capture of the first dungeon, more dungeons are appearing in all parts of the world. Many people challenge them, and some even manage to clear them. Sinbad is travelling as usual. On his way, he finds a big guy with a girl trying to capture a large water dragon. The big guy attacked the dragon with a harpoon, but the outer shell of the dragon was so strong that the harpoon couldn't pierce it. To save his drowning sister, he dives into the sea with the dragon chasing him. Just when the dragon's about to eat them, Sinbad uses the power of Baal to fry the dragon, leaving the man in shock. On the other hand, Drago is leading another special squad to capture another dungeon on the orders of the Emperor. He's given another chance by his brother to steal the djinn power from Sinbad to prove himself the prideful soldier of the Partavia Empire. He's given a special squad called Shamlash to execute this mission. Sinbad and the man are now on the shore, igniting a fire to warm themselves up. The man's sister wakes up and assumes her brother to be the one who has defeated the water dragon. The man's name is Hina. They have a meal together. Sinbad asks them about their northern village, to which they reply it's covered with pure white snow and their father is the patriarch of the village. Despite knowing that the village won't welcome him, Sinbad decides to visit it because it will be his first step towards changing the world. On the same night, he apologizes to Hina for stealing his prey. Sinbad comments on his strength and effort to save his sister, which surprises him. Upon reaching the village, Sinbad is surprised to see the strange houses in the village. He meets the father of Hina, who doesn't welcome him. The village prepares for a feast because Hina has finally proven himself a warrior. On the other hand, the sorcerer with Dragul sent the assassin squad to kill Sinbad. Back to the village, Hina's father tells him about a dungeon that recently appeared outside their village. He asks his son to accompany other warriors to conquer it, but Sinbad interrupts and warns them about it because many people perish in dungeons. Sinbad shows them his power, which surprises them. Hina's father acknowledged him upon witnessing his power. Sinbad enjoys the feast with the villagers while Hina walks away in guilt because he didn't manage to kill the dragon. Soon his sister accompanies him and tells him that he should be happy about becoming a warrior, but it's all in vain. At night, the commander of the assassin squad attacks Sinbad in his sleep, but ends up being electrocuted by the lightning power of Jinn. Sinbad tries to question him, but he refuses to answer anything. Since he's a kid, Sinbad asks him about his parents, to which he boasts that he killed them a long time ago. Upon hearing this, he slaps the kid for boasting about such a tragic action. He escapes the house with the help of his partners. After that, Hina's sister comes to Sinbad and tells him that her brother has left to conquer the dungeon on his own. Sinbad tells her that he'll save her brother no matter what. While leaving, he gives her a determined, scary look to show his commitment and resolve. Hina enters the dungeon, hoping that with his power, everyone will acknowledge him and he'll be powerful like Sinbad. Upon entering, he gets surprised to see the mysterious world inside the dungeon. Sinbad follows him into the dungeon while Yunnan watches from a distance, wondering if he's again attracted by the power of the dungeon. Hina finds butterflies gathering around him in the dungeon, but they turn out to be little monsters attacking him upon looking closer. He quickly uses his harpoon to fend them off. A swarm of butterflies surround him, but Hina dives into the nearby river to get rid of them. Fortunately, he survives this deadly attack. After covering some more distance inside the dungeon, he discovers the gate to the treasure room. When Hina's about to reach the door, suddenly a crab monster attacks him and lands a slash on his back. He falls into the river with the beast. Hina gathers all his strength by reminding himself that he's not a coward anymore and charges the harpoon towards the crab monster. After a massive splash of water, he throws the beast out of the water and dashes forward to land the final blow, but the assassins kill the monster before him, much to his dismay. Dragul and his team take the crystal to open the treasure room. Hina takes a stand for himself and he tells them to give him the crystal as he's the one who reached it first. He displays his insane strength and a fight begins between them. Hina faces off against the trio of assassins. At first, he dominates the fighting, but he gets trapped in their combined attack. Just when their leader is about to kill him, Sinbad intervenes and uses the power of Baal to stop them. Dragul greets him in his usual sulking manner. The mage with Dragul introduces herself as Farlan. The leader of the assassin squad attacks Sinbad as he's bent on killing him. A fight breaks again between them. Hina gets dragged into this as well. Sinbad tries to use his power, but Dragul attacks him with a gun to stop him. Hina steps in and dives into the river with Sinbad to escape the scene. Farlan uses her magic to freeze the river, but fortunately, they survive it. Dragul wonders about the real identity of this mage. She gives the team 3 magic pills to boost their powers, and after taking the pills, they feel much lighter and more powerful. Dragul inserts the crystal and walks into the treasure room with his companions. On the other hand, Sinbad gets out from the freezing water. Hina tells him he'll claim the dungeon's power, to which Sinbad tells him that he's already strong enough. The scene shifts to Dragul, who summoned the Jinn of the dungeon. The Jinn emerges from the metal vessel and claims to be the Jinn of deception and confidence. He recognizes the evil scent of Farlan and destroys her puppet doll. Dragul tells the Jinn that he'll become king and he'll give power to the Majesty, which bores him to the point he turns into a cute cat. Sinbad and Hina reach the treasure room. Jinn presents them with a challenge to catch a cat made from his blood. They all decide to claim the power for themselves and dash forward to catch the cat, but the cat turns out to be very fast, much to their dismay. After several failed attempts, Sinbad asks them to work together. He manipulates them by telling them he won't participate in the combined attack. The cat jumps when they dash towards her, and Sinbad quickly catches it. They lash at him, calling him a traitor, but Sinbad makes an exciting speech that must claim this power to change the world, and he'd love to have all of them as his followers. They end up getting passionate after listening to his speech. After all, Sinbad is born to lead people as a king. The assassin squad suddenly goes berserk because of the magic pills given to them by Farland. They become a source of black power that summons a giant demon. Draugr tries to kill them, but Sinbad stops him because he wants to save them. The demon attacks them with his massive power, leaving Sinbad injured. Hina and Draugr step in to stop the demon, but it's all in vain. Jin reveals that they can save them if they manage to destroy the demon's heart in a single attack. Sinbad lands an attack on the demon, but Farland in his illusionary body takes the sword of Sinbad away to prevent him from using Jin's power. Hina finally acknowledges Sinbad as a powerful man and declares him a king vessel. Together, they decide to unleash a final attack. Sinbad dashes forward as a decoy while Hina charges his harpoon to land the final blow. However, the demon catches Sinbad and makes him suffer. Draugr lands an attack on the face of the demon that helps Sinbad to escape. Finally, Hina unleashes his charged harpoon, which pierces the demon's heart in a single go, leaving Farland and everyone in shock. Sinbad takes advantage of this moment to claim back his sword by destroying the doll of Farland. However, the situation is unclear because the assassin's leader's heart has fallen in iniquity and the demon is using him to revive himself. Sinbad takes the challenge and tries to save him. Sinbad discovers his memories of being forced into a ruthless assassin upon holding his hand. Sinbad finds him crying in his memories because the organization forced him to kill his parents. Sinbad saves him by convincing him that they won't let anyone use him in the future. He uses the power of Baal to destroy the reviving demon. The assassin leader comes back from depravity with the help of Sinbad that surprises everyone, even Jin. They all bow before Sinbad and tell him to claim power because he is the true king. After forming a pact with Jin, the dungeon disappears and they all find themselves back in the village. Draugr leaves by saying he must save someone in the Empire. While leaving, Draugr receives a portion of Jin's power because he's acknowledged Sinbad as his king. Hina decided to follow Sinbad on his journey as his follower. They meet the village's founder, who turns out to be a giant, furious man. Finally, Hina gets permission from the chief and his daughter becomes his wife. Sinbad forms a diplomatic relationship with Hina's village that marks the beginning of his future trade company. With two Jin's powers in his hand, what will be the next destination of Sinbad, the future king of the Seven Seas? Continue watching from episode 7 to discover more about the legendary adventure of Sinbad and his fellows. So, that's it for today's video. If you liked the video, give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more anime recaps. Farewell till the next video. Bye.